This video is brought to you by Osmocote, the planter's plant food.
I'm Amy Grisak, a garden writer in Great Falls, Montana, and today I want to talk to you about what might be causing your tomato leaves to curl on you. Now this summer, once the tomatoes were getting going, I noticed some of my plants had these just horrible, funky looking leaves, and it really concerned me because my first thought was it was herbicide damage. I have first-hand experience with this, unfortunately, because years ago I brought in compost from a stable that fed weed seed-free hay to their horses. Now I thought I was being the smarty pants because I wouldn't have to deal with the weeds that is notorious with horse manure, but I ended up almost killing my entire garden. When I dug it into the beds and I planted things like tomatoes, pretty soon when the tomatoes are up, what happens is the leaf curls real tight and then goes over like a shepherd's crook. That is the classic sign for herbicide damage, especially with the tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, that type of thing. Tomatoes are very obvious. So when I looked at these leaves, they're not doing that. They're kind of curling up, but they're not that tight twist and that shepherd's crook. So my next thought was pests. So I took my little loop. So for those in the digital age, this is what we used to use to look at slides. But they're really handy to examine your plants. So I just looked at the underside of the leaves for anything that's crawling, moving, that type of thing. Couldn't find anything. Plus, just looking at the leaf, they look healthy. If you have something like a thrip or some sort of mite, you're going to have evidence where they're feeding. There's going to be little dots, there's going to be brown splotches. They're going to look like they're being eaten. None of these look like that. Next thought, virus of some sort. Tons of viruses for tomatoes out there, and many of them do cause the leaves to curl. Once again though, what are some of the other symptoms? So I started to take a look, and most of the time with a viral situation, you're looking at yellowing of the leaves or a mottling color, some other symptom that's going to clue you off on what virus is attacking your plant. Really nothing. Once again, the leaves look healthy except for this funky shape they have going on. So I finally decided it had to be a physiological leaf curl, and which makes sense because of the crazy weather we've had this year. Started off cold and dry, got a lot of rain, and then the heat went up and the rain turned off. In June, it was 99 degrees some days, and we didn't have really any measurable moisture during that month. It was really, really bad. And I have to say, I probably wasn't as good as I should have been in my watering. They got water, but I don't think it was really deep enough for the plant to use it. Tomatoes have those long tap roots, so it's good to water them very, very deeply so they can best utilize that moisture. So the good news is it really won't affect the plant, won't affect the growth, won't affect the fruit production. The flowers are really starting to set on a lot of these. It's starting to set fruit. Now that our temperatures have broken out of the 90s, that was a problem for a while. And so it should be fine. But it's always a concern when you see your leaves turning to funny shapes, turning to funny colors. It's very important that you do your homework, figure out what's going on. When you figure out what's going on, then you can deal with it. Because if it's a pest, you can use sometimes diatomaceous earth. A lot of times for mites, a sulfur-based spray or dust. Thrips might take a little bit more. Some handle them with insecticidal soap. Others go for heavy-duty stuff like malathion. So you got to know what you're dealing with before you can take care of it. But go out there, take a look at your plants, see what's going on, and do your best to keep them healthy.